Sword and Board presents Board, James Board. I'm Luke.
I'm Lars.
And I'm Dad.
This is our deep dive retrospective of every James Bond film. It has been a while, guys. How is everyone doing tonight?
Things are going great. We just got back from what looked to be James Bond villain training. Elliot is in his green belt for Taekwondo.
Really?
Yep, I was just telling Dad that meant that he's in the older class. So it's a reverse of that Seinfeld episode where it was Kramer and a bunch of little kids. Now it's a bunch of older people and Elliot. But they're all like doing, he's got his sparring gear and he's like doing his moves and stuff. And it's that little cutaway gag in Wayne's World. You know, he opens the door. Like, I've always wanted to open a door and see a bunch of people training like they're going into a James Bond movie.
So Lars, I really want you to, if you could, sometime get a photo of all of the people in the class laying on the mats like this, and Elliot's in the middle of it, like he has taken them all out. Yes.
Well, it was funny. It's funny because I have the little the hand pads to like practice with him.
Yep.
And like I hold him out and he punches him, and then he'll duck under and punch. And it's like, oh, that's how you'd win. Like you can actually win in the fight.
You use short to your advantage.
You use it to your advantage, and you punch a bunch of nuts. You're gonna win. You're gonna win a lot of fights. So,
please tell me you're not teaching him that.
No.
I'm okay. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm doing all right. Nothing too crazy is going on. We got our Christmas tree all set up and decorated. Lights are going off. It's nice. Our star is twinkling, and every time I look over, I see it reflecting in the window. I'm wondering why the hell there's fireworks going on outside. Other than that, I'm good. I don't have anything really exciting going on. I'm an incredibly boring person with an incredibly boring life.
Did you see the pictures I sent you of the house that Mom and I saw tonight?
Yes, I did. That's incredible.
No, it's not incredible. It's scary. I'm looking at it like the things these people have stapled to their roof. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, it's like the Copeland. I remember like the Copeland's house in New Orleans, and I remember, you know, we would drive through these neighborhoods, and you could go up to the meters and like see the watt, like the needle spinning, like there was just so much power being drained. Yeah, just craziness. For tonight, I wanted to start off really quick with what my cocktail, as always. It's a gin martini stirred.
Because it's different.
It's different. It's still a martini, but it's just a little different. And that's where we lead into On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Dad, can you take away the synopsis? What's On Her Majesty's Secret Service about? I have a lot to say about this one, by the way, fellas.
I do as well, but I'm going to give a very brief synopsis from the internet.
Okay.
So, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, 1969, while searching for Blofeld, Bond saves Tracy DeVincenzo on the beach from committing suicide by drowning, and later meets her again in a casino. Bond then receives information from Draco, the head of the European crime syndicate, and by the way is Tracy's father, about Blofeld's Swiss solicitor. Bond breaks into the solicitor's office and establishes Blofeld as corresponding with the London College of Arms. Posing as an emissary of the college, Bond meets Blofeld, who has established a clinical allergy research institute in the Swiss Alps.
As you do.
Bond soon establishes that Blofeld is brainwashing his patients to distribute bacteriologically warfare agents throughout various parts of the world. Bond escapes the clinic after Blofeld identifies him as a British agent. Bond arranges a raid on the clinic, uses men from Draco's organization. The raid is a success, although Blofeld escapes Bond then marries Tracy, but she is murdered shortly afterwards by Irma Bunt, Blofeld's partner. What a great name, Irma Bunt.
Mm-hmm.
So that, in 2 paragraphs, is
It's light on like nefarious plot, but it's big on character. I gotta say, I love this. I really love this one. I don't remember the first time I saw a James Bond movie. It's like Star Wars and Star Trek for me, Dad.
Yeah.
Like, it was just always
Right.
on. I can't remember the first time I saw Kirk or Picard or Luke Skywalker or Indiana Jones or James Bond. It was just, they were always on. That was just a
Right.
thing. And I remember watching them, especially on TBS. Like TBS would have a marathon of them.
Yes.
And I remember lots of the Sean Connery ones. I remember, like, all the Roger Moore ones kind of blur together. Like, if you tell me, like, excess
It's 70s.
papula, excess
It's
papula,
70s.
I'll know which one
Yeah.
that is. But, like, I know, like, they're all kind of the same. And the Timothy Dalton ones were, whatever. And then I remember going to the theater to seeing the Pierce Brosnan ones. And obviously, we've all gone to the theater to see the Daniel Craig ones. I've never seen this one. This is the one I've never seen.
Oh, you had never seen this until we did this.
Never saw it.
Me, I hadn't. I had been forever since I had seen this one, and I remember it because of Bond's second line in the entire film.
The other guy didn't have to deal with that? Yep.
Other guy didn't have
Exactly.
to
I
deal
wrote
with
that one down too. Yep.
Yeah. So I've never seen this, and I don't know if I love this because I saw No Time to Die recently, and there's so much of a corollary between this
Yeah.
and No Time to Die. I just really like this one a lot. I don't know if he's not as good as a Bond as Sean Connery. That I'm going to throw out there. Sean Connery's a better Bond. This is a better Bond movie than a lot of Bond movies.
Well, my main takeaway from this was 2 things. It's a lot more hyper macho, and it's a lot more violent than a lot of Bond movies.
Yeah. They actually hired him because he was supposed to be this major sexual tension guy on the screen, and macho, and the way he walked and the way he carried himself. He was an Australian model. He had never really acted in anything other than commercials. George Lazenby is who we're talking about.
Right.
But he had this charisma about him that he was good. He could have carried this on through many movies. They actually offered him a 7 Bond movie deal, and for some reason it all went to his head and he declined.
Which there's a really good.
His manager.
Yes, exactly.
His manager.
Yeah.
Lars, your microphone. You're gonna need to fix.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. His manager said spy movies were on the way out. Hippie movies are on the way in. You need to get out of these spy movies.
And Diana Rigg.
And that's why
Diana Rigg kept trying to tell him, "Don't do this. You have got this. This is going to be your ticket. All you have to do is ride it for a while."
Right. Which it could have been one of those. I see this as one of those turning points in the Bond series where, like, From Russia with Love, they could have continued on with making From Russia with Love. They went and made Goldfinger.
Yep.
And they continued to make, and that's fine. But that was a way to do it. This, they could have, like, the next one is him, like, I don't know if you ever saw the TV show Person of Interest. It's a really good TV show. It was on CBS, and it was about this, like, war veteran, and he hooks up with this billionaire inventor that has created this machine that, like, it's basically surveilling everyone in the world, and it can kind of predict when a crime is going to happen. It was really good, and at the end, like the season finale of one of the seasons, their partner dies. She gets murdered. And the very next episode, like the season premiere, is him whooping ass. He is killing everybody. He doesn't give a shit. He is just, I'm killing every single person. They could have gone that route with James Bond after this one, and we'll get to that point. But it could have been that, like, oh, this is the turn. He is he is out for blood. He's not messing around.
Absolutely.
Right, and it could have gone that route, and they didn't do anything with it, which was, we'll get there. But I don't know. This was a big surprise for me. I was really wow.
And look at how
because
they were.
You hear the one Bond. You hear the guy who played Bond once. Obviously, he must have been a terrible person at the role.
No,
he
wasn't. It was actually, like you said, Lucas. It was outside people pulling him in another direction. You know, what was interesting is that as Bond progressed, you know, like we all loved From Russia with Love. There was not a lot of gadgetry other than the watch with the garrote, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
But it kept getting worse. Like Thunderball was like, oh my God, it was everything. And then, this one, how many gadgets were there?
Q only shows up at the end.
In the wedding.
End. Yep.
So there were no gadgets really. It was really just a story, a movie.
It's campy after you see the whole movie, that second line that you referenced, Lucas. So, you know, he saves Tracy, and he's like, the other guy didn't have to deal with this. And you think like, oh my gosh, it's going to be total camp.
But it wasn't.
It's not.
There were two other places in the movie where that happened. You know, where he, let me see where I wrote it down.
Is it him pulling the stuff out of the desk?
Yeah, the nostalgia. I wrote nostalgia over objects from previous movies.
And the theme kind of tickles in.
Exactly.
Like when he pulls out the knife, the Dr. No thing pulls in, and like the little it plays the music from.
I thought they were trying to link him to keep him in the hey, this is James Bond. Remember, it's another face.
Yep.
Right.
And they also at the same time, like when he meets Blofeld finally, Blofeld doesn't recognize him.
Right. And they've just seen each other in the last movie.
Yep. Blofeld does not recognize him.
Now, obviously, it's different people playing Blofeld, but it's the same character.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, you're Telly Savalas. I've never seen you before. Okay, all right. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess Bond is wearing glasses.
Exactly. Oh,
and
it works for Clark Kent.
Blofeld comes from the Daily Planet school of recognizing people. The music is so wonderful. The music's incredible in this movie.
It really was. John Barry just did an outstanding job. It was, and Louis Armstrong.
That was such a good
song. Oh my God! And they carried that into the last one that Daniel Craig just did. Yep.
The song, what was it? What was the song that Louis Armstrong sang? We have all the time in the world. And
that kind of carried through the whole thing. I mean, at the very end, which we're jumping ahead, but at the very end, when she said we have all the time in the world, and that's so appropriate when none of us really have all the time in the world.
Well, and when you think of James Bond, you think of him as this invincible, like, of course he's going to escape from the sharks with lasers in their freaking heads, and everything's going to be okay. And then, the one time where we've seen him be vulnerable and he's opened himself up, and it's cut to pieces. Yeah. Like, damn, that makes him even more incredible that he can. I don't know. There's curling in this. I like that. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yep.
That was pretty awesome.
I liked at the beginning. So you see the brass Universal Exports sign. I like that. Mm-hmm. There's some reference to at the beginning about they're testing radioactive lint, which I'm like, what?
What are you doing?
Why
radioactive lint?
I like that he was like. I've always wanted to see James Bond on vacation, and this is probably the closest that I'll get.
Yep.
Because he's really not working for His Majesty's Secret Service in this.
No, he actually, at the very end, he actually goes to them and says, "I want to do this," and they say no. He goes out and gets Draco's people to go do it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And so that was funny that, he's kind of on vacation and kind of wandering around and still stumbles into stuff. There's still the problematic Draco wants. He's going to pay him £1 million to marry his daughter, so his daughter's not all.
But he hands him the check back at the end.
Hands him it back.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. I tell you, from a fight kind of perspective, I thought the fight scenes were great. He was very good at it. The one on the beach, the one at the end where he's like sliding on the ice across, shooting at that was phenomenal.
Well, even like when he goes to the casino, so he saves Tracy, and then he ends up at a casino, and she tells him to go to this room, and he goes to the room, and there's this guy waiting to kill him, and that fight, like it is just he's hitting him, he is punching him as hard as he can, it's a lot of it's just. And even Tracy has some great moments. Like she's like slashing at a guy with a broken bottle.
Well,
like she's not a typical blonde. She's not a typical Bond girl. She is holding her own.
Yep. She's not. What was her name in the Pierce Brosnan?
Christmas
yes.
Jones.
The nuclear physicist. Yes.
Yeah, of course you are.
Oh,
Lucas, what did you think? I mean, what?
I was very. I was torn because it was a lot more. I was not expecting it to be as good as it is, but at the same time, I was really turned off by how they really did kick up the violence, and it did not feel like a Bond movie. It felt like a spy movie. It didn't quite feel, because there's a particular tone and a particular shorthand that all Bond, even the most
cold and calculating.
Even those calculating ones, even Daniel Craig from Russia with Love, all of them, they still feel kind of like a Bond movie. This didn't, and a lot of it had to do with, as Dad said, that they brought on this guy who was meant to be this hyper masculine macho dude. It didn't quite land for me. I still really enjoyed it, and it's been 20 years since I've seen this, so I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen it. I didn't remember it very well because I remember not liking it, and I think that's probably why I didn't like it when I first saw it.
It's funny that he's this hyper masculine guy, but he's the one that they chose to be the vulnerable one.
Yeah,
exactly.
That really is weird. Yep.
Like, because and really ballsy for them. Like, not only are they changing actors, like we're moving ahead from the actor that everybody liked, but we're also going to give him not just a love interest, but someone that is going to completely take him away from MI6.
Mm-hmm.
Is going to have him change who he is going to settle down. Like we're gonna flip the script, and there's some more stuff I want to talk about in the middle, but I absolutely loved probably my favorite moment in the whole movie was him and Moneypenny at the end.
Oh my God, throwing the hat to her,
and that little wave. He just kind of waves and acknowledges her, and he throws a hat to her, and she's crying, and I didn't take it as she's crying because she was jealous and that she lost him. I took it as
she was happy for him.
He found someone. He found her. He found her, and I'm happy for her. And I just, that was such a moment.
It really was.
That was so great. And it was just really just that little like, hey,
and
here you go.
And that was the first time I'd ever seen Q or M outside of their offices. They were at a wedding. Oh, and Moneypenny for that matter.
Q shows up a lot of the time in like a weird Hawaiian shirt to hand Bond a gadget. But this is definitely the only time you ever see M. One of the few times you see M outside of.
We're not working.
Handing him a gun, right, or a laser beam.
Right. We're not working. We're celebrating you. And I really liked that. That was a really great little moment. And of course, it's undercut by
being gunned down and so many times.
Now, I will say, I've got to say, because it was the time period, I hated with every fiber of my being the frilly shirt tuxedo that he wore.
Oh
my God!
Yeah.
And then it was wet.
That was terrible.
I'm like, That's the worst shirt. And but I remember those shirts. That was the thing.
No, that
And
was
I'm
terrible.
looking, I'm
This
like,
is not
oh
a-
my God, this is so bad.
he is not a stylish Bond. Sean Connery in Goldfinger has aged very well.
Yes.
Sean Connery in From Russia with Love has aged very well. He just looks classic.
Yep.
And that is just a classic.
This was too much of
This
a
one was like
late 60s, early 70s. I'm going to wear no T-shirt, a tuck shirt, and all this frill that just my God.
There's one moment where I couldn't stop laughing. It's when he goes to the research center to tell Blofeld, I'm researching your genealogy so you can be declared a lord. Which, before I get to that, I do love that the Bond family crest, when translated from Latin, is "the world is not enough."
I wrote that one down too. That was phenomenal.
We'll see that later.
Yep. But so they take him up to the office, and it's filled with beautiful women
From all over the world.
And from all over the world. And my immediate first thought, this is the Castle Anthrax.
Right. And now for the oral sex. Oh, shit. Yes. Funny story about that. I remember watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail as a kid and loving it. And I remember we showed that to one of our neighbors in New Orleans.
Yeah.
That were not as progressive as our family. And we got to that part, and it was instantly like, we've got to go home. We shouldn't be watching this. and me and Lucas are like, no, this
is funny.
This is funny.
I will say that there's watching it is dated because there's several places in the movie where one time he slaps her and he says, I know a little bit about women, and then at the towards the end, Draco, her father, when they're getting on the helicopter, hits her and knocks her out, and then says, "Spare the rod, spoil the child." And I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of creepy.
It is, but again,
But
I
it was
love
the
that
time.
she's not just some damsel. Like she fights the guy off. Like she is.
Absolutely.
Like she is holding her own. There's some really great car chases in this. There's some really great ski chases,
and the scenery
I love that they.
Oh my! In the Alps. Oh my God!
It's incredible. Like his headquarters, Blofeld's headquarters, up in the Alps, and how Bond has to escape off of the tram and then ski down it, and then he and to your point, it is violent. Like he just throws people off of a cliff.
Yeah.
Now, somehow they turn into dummies halfway through. I don't know how that happens, but so, but he throws people, like he murders, straight up.
He throws a guy
people.
into a
yes, the snow
the thingy,
plow thingy,
the snow plow,
and he had a lot of guts.
Good. I'm glad that he's they keep the casual
murder.
But that was that's like the contractor who works for whoever. Like, oh well.
Yeah, who works for the?
Exactly.
It ends in a bobsled chase. Which is phenomenal.
Oh my God,
that was so good.
The only problem with all of it was the special effects for that time in movies. It wasn't great, but it was a phenomenal bobsled chase. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's points where where Blofeld is dragging his head along the side of the.
Right. Yeah, it's really cool. It's just a neat it's a neat James Bond setting, because it's like, I'm sure most people haven't seen bobsledding outside of the Olympics
or Cool Runnings.
Well, at that point they haven't seen it outside. But outside at that point, do you watch the Olympics? They're not broadcast like they are.
And
now.
we have talked about that before. That these James Bond movies that we're watching have brought Joe Blow from Louisiana or whatever that have never been out of town.
Right.
into, oh wow, there's other places in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
look at what you do.
And he doesn't really jet set a lot either. Like they go to Spain and
Nope.
Portugal, but it's mostly in the Alps, in those cool
I liked
little
I liked the sequence. I liked
villages.
the sequence
Shallots.
when he went into the office and he needed to copy the stuff, and the guy with the crane
Oh
brings
yeah,
over the thing, and it's like this
yeah.
giant box that you're talking about technology. Then it was like, oh, this is so cool. Look at what they can do.
And it's tense. It's super tense, that whole
Yeah,
sequence.
It
it's like,
is. It really is.
can he get it done in time?
Yeah, like hurry up, hurry up. Um, Blofeld holds his cigarettes weird.
European.
It's just weird.
I know.
I kept wanting like just James
Fix your dog's ear.
just exactly just smack that out of his hand. Like stop
Now
it. You're not doing that right.
the whole genealogy thing, that was
Yeah.
kind of weird. It was interesting.
Yeah.
And they also, you know, Blofeld had never seen this guy, so why did Bond have to change his voice?
And be really effeminate.
Well, and it was using. Actually, I read about it. The guy that that Bond went to talk to at the heraldry place. That guy actually did the voice for Bond. So
Really?
it was kind of weird, but
I love he. So obviously he's in a room full of nubile, beautiful women, and
From around the world.
and the brainwashing stuff was kind of crazy. Like so he's with one of them, and it's like psychedelics, and that is pretty cool.
It's the Willy Wonka
But
book.
then
Yes.
the next day he's like
Exactly.
he's like I'll come to your room at 8, 9 o'clock. 10
Yeah.
o'clock. He's just
Well,
going around.
and of course this
That was
guy's
pretty-
watching
that was
this
pretty
movie, going, "Yes, that's what I want to do. I want this life."
This was really a big surprise. I had not seen it. I knew what happened in it. I knew the end. I knew that this was the one that he gets married and then she dies right after. But I was surprised that like when it happened, like man, they really made me feel
Yep.
something for these characters, and then they made me feel like this was a real relationship, and they really cared about each other.
There was a whole sequence in the middle that I kind of felt it was like padding, where the two of the Tracy and Bond were walking through gardens, and the song was playing, and there was a lot going on. That was good, but it was. I'm like, yeah, really? I mean, I get it. It was kind of padding.
They could have done it quicker, and still like so when he sees like he's escaped Blofield's. He's skied down on one ski. He's in the village and he's trying to run away from everybody. He's basically like running for his life, and he's at this ice skating rink, and his pair of legs come up and ski up to him, and it's her, and that's really all you needed at that point. Like they've gone through enough, and there she is, and she's sought him out like. My dad told me where to find you. I came to get you.
That was perfect.
And it was just really, it really
but
was.
Before all that, when they were walking to the gardens and all that, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. Again,
That's
it was ballsy that, right. It was ballsy that they felt that they could stretch what Bond could do. Like, and which, now that I've seen No Time to Die, I can understand why they tied the music in with it.
Oh,
They
it's like this.
made that connection.
Yeah.
They really made that connection with it. And the fact that they named a Pierce Brosnan movie "The World Is Not Enough." Obviously, the producers of this movie and the people involved in James Bond looked to this one as, hey, we said some stuff in this one. Like we were doing things here that we wanted to kind of carry over. I mean it's referenced in License to Kill. Felix gets married, and his wife's like, why didn't James ever get married? Like
He did.
He did once.
He did.
It's peppered in.
Yep.
I mean, obviously we're gonna watch them all, but this one was really. I was pleasantly surprised at how much this was this was really, really, really good.
There were lots.
I don't know what y'all
Oh
thought,
no,
but
I know. I
that was my
liked it
thing.
as well. There were a lot of funny things in it as well. With
Oh yeah,
when when he came up with a kilt, and then
which is what you wear in the
and then
house.
the one of the girls writes her room number on his leg. Oh
His
my
leg.
God!
Right.
And he says, "I have to leave because there's a slight stiffness coming up."
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
oh really?
So good.
It just that's the thing is I like this, but it didn't feel like any of the ones that we've watched so
It
far.
wasn't. You're right, Lucas.
Oh,
you're right.
You're absolutely right, man. It did not feel the same way, which again, I kind of admire that. Think of, I've got this giant series, and like holy shit, James Bond is this gigantic thing. Thunderball was like the biggest thing ever. Sure you only live twice, didn't make as much money, but it like
And we all agreed.
we're-
We
we-
actually
we are
liked.
we are
We
printing
actually
money.
liked You Only Live Twice better.
Right. We're printing money at this
Yeah.
point. We can make a James Bond, and we're printing money. Oh, Sean Connery doesn't want to do it anymore. And the fact that they just didn't try to find another guy that looks like Sean Connery and talk in a Scottish accent and do the same thing again is
That was pretty ballsy.
interesting.
Interesting.
You wouldn't see that in a like a mainstream series now. Like if Fast and the Furious 10, Vin Diesel didn't want to do it anymore, you'd find Den Diesel, the other bald guy. they'd make the same movie again. So, but I agree with you. It was not. That's why I made a gin martini. It wasn't your typical. It wasn't the exact same thing. It was different, and I think that. I think contemporarily people didn't respond to it, so that's why they went back to, hey, let's make a James Bond movie.
Well,
and that's where we'll see.
They offered him movies, and he declined. And it was a really interesting review I read from Diana Rigg that said George was crazy. I cannot believe he turned this down. He had never worked in a real movie. He needs to do the apprenticeship like everybody does. And he chose not to when he had it laid out before him. He could have done anything.
And he showed up at the premiere with like a beard and long hair.
Yeah.
And just was like, oh, I'm done. And it's like, man.
You're an idiot.
You're talking about burning your career to the ground.
You could have taken this character in some interesting directions. Now, and it might not have been as good. Because there's some Roger Moore movies that I actually really like. And I love the Daniel Craig stuff. And there's some Pierce Brosnan stuff I really like, but you could have done some interesting stuff.
Oh,
you could have done some different kinds of things.
And I love that car. That was a really interesting car.
It was a Ford.
Oh no, not the Camaro she was driving. I meant the other one he was driving. It was I think it was an Aston Martin. I have to look, but
so
I don't know.
In summary,
it's interesting because the entire the movie plot was okay. Villain develops a method of sending badness into the world via beautiful women. That was pretty much it. But the rest of the movie was really good. It was.
Yeah. Well, I read that this is because I haven't read all the books yet, but I heard this is the one that's the closest to the books. Because if you read Moonraker, which I've read Moonraker and I've seen Moonraker, they're completely different. And then most of them are just
From Russia with Love is very close.
But there's some that it's just the title of the book, and that's all we take. So they tried to follow it pretty closely, so that way it is a smaller villain story, but it's a bigger character story.
Yeah.
Which I think then that's James Bond's escapism James Bond. So this actually it fits more now with the Daniel Craig stuff, because the Daniel Craig stuff tried to make it more of a human kind of thing, but you've also had the benefit at that point of 20 movies of a superhero,
Right.
and now you turn the superhero into a
Yeah, I think you nailed it. This movie was a much smaller movie. It was a a tighter movie, I guess.
But this project is great, Lucas. I'm really glad that you, or who came up with this idea? Was it Dad?
That's Dad.
So Dad, this was a really great idea because one, it's let us talk every once in a while, which is great. But it's also exposed me to movies that, while I had this idea of like, oh, I know what James Bond is. I've seen the James Bond movies. But then when I realized, oh, I haven't seen this one. And now I'm excited to see the other ones that I'm sure I've seen, but what else is there?
And I guess my biggest thing was that it spans so much time. It's 50 years, and
right,
things change, mores change, technology changes with movies.
Well, even like the fashion that you mentioned.
Oh yeah,
from he looked classy in You Only Live Twice. Like he still looks classy. And then give it a couple years, and he looks like he should be swashbuckling on a pirate ship.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's like, oh, that's where we're now.
But just watching like the slapping and the I'm.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's a long period of time that we can watch how society has changed.
Well, Lucas, where can folks find us?
We can be found on Twitter and Instagram at SwordInBoardcast. You can find the podcast itself on Podbean and Stitcher and Spotify and YouTube and many other
Just go ask some guy in the street.
services. And he'll tell you to go fuck off.
And I will say, I have actually told folks at Bath Ironworks and given them the link, and people are watching. People are listening.
They're watching. People are watching.
Listening.
That's impressive. Our artwork is done by the incredible Wes Forbes. He has a brand new album out with his band, The Menders. Go check it out. He's getting subscribers worldwide. He told me this past weekend that he had somebody from Norway download all their albums this past week. So I told him that when he's ready for his Norway tour, let us know. We'll jump on with him. Our theme music is done by the amazing Ryan Boyd. They can be found at
RyanDroid on Twitter. And our outro music is also.
As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for following along with our ramblings. James Bond will return in
Diamonds are forever.